Welcome into the channel. So today we are back in front of the Sony A80j, and the reason why we're in front of that is because I want to talk about a couple of things that I like about this TV, a couple of things I dislike about this TV, and if I feel like it would be worth upgrading to one of the new 2023 models that'll be coming out this year. So just a little bit of background. The Sony A80j OLED is a 2021 4K OLED panel. Wasn't Sony's flagship for that particular year. That would be the A90j. But the A80j, for the price versus the value of the quality and the picture and things like that of what you're getting was solid. I would say it was a solid option for 2021 when you compared that against, a competitor like the LG C1, for example. But just to kind of get into a couple of things that I really like about my A80j. So this is a 77-inch A80j, and I mentioned that because there's some importance there in that the 77-inch panels for that year came with the glossy panel. They were all glossy panels, and they also had the brighter screens in comparison to, say, the 55 and the 65s, which came with more of a semi-gloss or a matte looking finish. And they didn't appear as bright. And I can speak to that because the first one I actually had was a 65-inch A80j with that semi-gloss screen. And when I moved to this 77, it was noticeable, at least to me, that the image consistently was brighter. And I really liked the glossy panels. So that and then of course the bigger screen size just everything made sense to go to that 77. But anyway, back to a couple things I really like. So first of all, the motion handling. So I've been buying Sony TVs consistently for years, probably the last 10, 12 years. I've had different types of Sony panels. And the one thing that I really like about them is their consistency with the motion handling. And I get a new Sony panel, I immediately know where to go into the settings. And even if they've made a processor change, if it's a brand new processor in the TV or a big upgrade, the settings are generally the same. I can go into that settings on the TV, I can make XYZ change to the motion handling, and it's going to perform exactly how I would expect and what I like as far as motion, which for me, I like a hair of soap opera effect, not enough to be crazy, like distracting and make you dizzy watching content or anything and just kind of weird. But I don't want, I'd like my image to have a little bit of soap opera effect, but not a ton. Let's just put it that way. So I've had my settings set up that way for years now. So motion handling and then just pure image quality on this TV is amazing. And when I say that, what I mean is out of the box, Sony settings, you don't have to make a lot of changes to have a beautiful image. You don't have to go in and make very fine-tuned specific settings changes to get everything dialed in the way you want. Very few settings, and then everything will be subjective from there, of course, with your motion and things like that. So what I like about this TV is it's very simplistic to use. So again, the motion handling, you don't have to change much there to have great motion. And just the settings for the image quality itself, you have to make very few minor changes to have a great image. So love that. Now let's go into a couple of things I don't like. Number one, let's talk about the gaming portion. For me, gaming is a big deal. I buy my displays to be immersed in gameplay, playing on consoles and things like that. And while the image quality is great, gaming on this TV, what's not great is the aggressive ABL and ASBL on this panel. So just to kind of give an example, if I'm, say, playing like PS5 Madden, you start playing a game, whatever, first quarter, everything looks beautiful, everything still looks bright. But if you're playing a full quarter, like a 12-minute quarter, you get, I don't know, halfway into the first quarter, for example, when that static scoreboard logo has been on there for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is, an extended period of time, your display panel gets noticeably dimmer. And I understand that Sony has put that in to protect the panel, and I get the functionality of it, and and in a way I'm glad it's there. But if I'm trying to enjoy my gameplay, I'd actually like to have an ability to turn that off. If I want to take the risk, of doing damage to the panel with burn-in or temporary image retention or whatever, I want to at least have that option available to me and a way to do it and take the risk. But with Sony's, there's not a way to disable ASBL or anything like that. So you're just kind of stuck with how it is. Take it or leave it. The other thing, and this is a really big annoying thing because it's basically every single day I turn on the TV, is let me hit the input button real quick. And you see this right here, HDMI 1 playback _1. Every day that this TV gets turned on, whenever the TV turns on and you go to the input button, the two inputs there are actually blank. It'll just say HDMI 1 and HDMI 2, and the TV kind of has to figure out what's plugged into it every single day. And that's kind of an annoyance to me because for such a premium panel and premium image quality, you would think that something like that would be second nature for this processor and this display. So for the amount of money spent on this panel, that would be kind of a basic feature or function that I would have an expectation that when I turn on the TV, all the HDMI inputs, I'll pull it back up here. They'll be labeled correctly. Like you can see here, Apple TV 4K label is correct. The receiver label is correct. What is this playback 1 thing? It should not be that way at all. So for me, that's kind of a minor annoyance. It's not a deal breaker as far as if I would recommend this TV. Same goes with the ABL and the ASBL dimming. Would that affect my recommendation to somebody who was looking to pick one up? No. But I did think it was a couple of noteworthy things to highlight. So just to kind of wrap things up here, now let's get into a little bit of, okay, you've had this panel for a while. It's a 2021 panel. How does it hold up in 2023? And would you consider upgrading? Well, number one, Sony didn't even release their new TVs at CES this year. So we don't know exactly what's coming out. There's a pretty good idea of what'll be coming out, but we don't know for sure. We haven't seen anything yet. So if I was to say, well, am I considering or would I consider upgrading this panel to a 2023 panel? As of today, what is this, January 11th, based on the information I have, I would have to say the upgrade would be to the LG G3. With that panel, you're going to get a big bump in brightness, and you're going to have ways to go in and disable some of those things I talked about, like the ASBL dimming and stuff. You'd have some control over the aggressiveness of the ASBL dimming. So I would have to say, as of right now, without seeing what Sony's releasing this year, if I was going to upgrade this TV, I would go from this Sony 77-inch Sony A80j to a 77-inch LG G3. And well, you're probably thinking, well, if you're going to do an upgrade, you have to go up in size, right? I'll have another video talking about my reasons for thinking you can do upgrades even year over year without going up in size, and that's just fine. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. If you enjoyed this video at all, consider hitting that like button. Really helps out the video's visibility. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing, turning on that bell notification so that you're notified when I do an upload. Thanks for watching.